Hello, this is Dave Gardy from US Vets TV studio near Washington, D.C. for the 6th edition, the holiday edition of the Veteran Entrepreneurial Training Series webcast. Thank you for joining us. We're 10 minutes late here at 1:10 Eastern. Had a little technical difficulty with one of our participants, but we've since figured it out, and we will have some kind of communication with him. Right now, coming to us from Paris, California, via Skype, and one of the best signals I've ever seen from him is Al Renteria. Al, thanks for joining us.
Dave, it's great to end the new year 2017 ending today for us. We got some great speakers. You had a chance to talk to Tom Leaney, and we get to hear him soon, and Wayne from Sacramento, California, followed by Dan Marion, JJR Solutions, Vector Prime, and Rod going to join us. And then we'll talk about Stan and the congratulations we want to give him towards the end of the webcast. But let's make this happen. Okay,
it's a pretty good rendition of what the rundown is for today. Let's start and let's try to get back on schedule here if we can. So we're going to go to a pre-recording of Tom Leaney discussing the recent summit in St. Louis, where all the veteran-owned business enterprises and the Vector Primes were, and getting his perspective of how that came out. This was recorded earlier today. So without any further ado, we're going to go to the tape. Washington, D.C. for this special presentation in preparation for the Veteran Entrepreneurship Training Series webcast on December 20th. With me right now, coming from Washington, D.C. via GoToMeeting, is Tom Leaney, who is the Executive Director of the Small and Veteran Business Program over at the VA. Thanks for joining us, Tom.
It's great to be here, Dave.
Tom, give us an overview. What happened, kind of a wrap-up about NVSB out in St. Louis in early December?
Well, we had a very successful National Veteran Small Business Engagement. As you know, it's an annual event. It's the largest veteran-owned small business event that brings government, commercial people together with veteran-owned small businesses. We brought from the VA more than 220 of our procurement decision makers and senior executives. We also were joined by another 40+ folks from other government agencies and about 160 large prime contractors who were looking for veteran-owned small business partners. We were joined by over 1,800 veteran-owned small businesses, and over the course of about 2.5 days, we had over 4,200 individual activities that connected veteran-owned small businesses to potential customers. So it turned out to be very successful. I was very pleased with how it came out.
Excellent. Well, we got to hear that report. What's the future of the Direct Access program?
Well, what we seek to do is to multiply the number of events. The goal is to create a structured, focused, scheduled opportunities for veteran-owned small businesses to engage directly with customers. The challenge of a national engagement, while it's a great event, it's once a year, and you have, we had over 33,000 people there, so they're stumbling over each other. It makes it a very complex event when you do 4,200 scheduled activities. So what we're seeking to do is, in 2018, our goal is to take these small businesses into the medical center. So they'll be able to connect directly with clinicians and people who don't get the chance to get out of the medical centers because they're dealing with patients. The second thing we're going to be doing is we're looking to do a small number of regional events, particularly in the construction arena, because what we found is, if I need to have my sidewalk repaired in Connecticut, I'm going to use a Connecticut firm. So to have the Connecticut firm and the facility engineer fly to St. Louis to talk about repairing a sidewalk in Connecticut doesn't make a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to expand the number of events, shrink them a little bit, focus them. I believe we're still going to do a national event, but it too will be more focused.
So do you know when you're going to know when those and where those regional events are in 2018?
We hope to have that schedule in place by the end of January.
Oh, excellent. Great. What does market research, how does it fit into the future of procurement opportunities for VOSBs?
Excellent question, Dave. The key to these events is that in order for a veteran-owned small business to get access to opportunity, they need to get access to the customer. They need to meet the customer. What Business 101 is, you don't do business with somebody you never met. So these access events are linked to the market research because they're designed to enable customers to do market research. By the way, not just VA staff or government staff. We brought to St. Louis, of the total of 69 Vector awardees, the prime contractors awarded our new $25 billion Vector contract, 64 of them were in St. Louis. They were there to meet with veteran-owned small businesses, not only to meet with potential customers, but to build the teams they're going to need to be successful. So these direct access events are really all about enabling customers to do market research, to find procurement-ready, capable, veteran-owned small business partners.
Can you give us an update on the Vector contract, the IDIQ, and what does it mean for the VOSB community?
This is, I think, a great piece of good news for the VOSB community. We awarded Vector last month. They're still going through some protests, so it hasn't been, we're not pushing out any task orders under it right now, but it's an IDIQ, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract. It's going to be task order based. It's got a $25 billion ceiling, that's billion with a B. So it is designed to cover a wide range of the professional services that the VA uses. And it was, I won't say it's unique, but it was extraordinary because as we put together Vector, we did a tiered evaluation approach. The first tier of the evaluation was veteran-owned small business teams that only had veteran-owned small business. Second tier were teams that had small business. Third tier were teams that had large businesses. Of the 69, or the total 65, some were awarded more than one service group. Only one team was not in tier one. So these are teams that were all composed of veteran-owned small business. And more importantly, each task order will do the same tiered approach. So there's an incentive for the Vector primes to work with other VOSBs, not to go sub their work out to a large business. And we've got 6 services. So it ranges from management, program management, to outreach, to training, to analysis, to supply chain, to human resources and staffing. So it covers a broad range of our professional services.
Excellent. It is quite a contract, and we know we've got a lot of interest in it with the Veteran Entrepreneurship Training Series. Any closing thoughts? You've been so good to come on to these series periodically and give us a perspective, and we're hoping that you can swing it in your schedule to get out to the summit coming up in February.
I hope to get out there. If not, I will send some people out there because we think it's a great opportunity, again, to connect veteran-owned small business with procurement decision makers. We're working with the team to bring some of our program managers out there so we can use it as a direct access event. 2018 is going to be a very important year. It's going to be a year where market research is going to, we seek to have market research drive decision making and improve the ability, particularly in the VA, to do good market research. So I think it's going to be a watershed year as we continue to implement the Veterans First program, and we continue to meet the challenge of balancing our commitment to Veterans First with our need to make sure that we meet our commitment to taxpayers and the 22 million veterans we support.
Excellent.
So I hope to see you all in California. I also hope to see veteran-owned small businesses at our sort of direct access event as we multiply them around the country.
Well, we appreciate your time, Tom. Thanks again for coming on the Veteran Entrepreneurship Training Series.
And thank you to all the veterans. Thank you for your service, and thank you to the veteran-owned small businesses that continue to support veterans.
Appreciate it. I'm Dave Gardy here for this special presentation in preparation for the Veteran Entrepreneurship Training Series webcast of December 20th. Thanks for joining us. Thanks and welcome back. That was Tom Laney, recorded earlier today, talking about a range of subjects. Al, can you hear me now out in California?
I can hear you loud and clear, Dave.
Were you able to hear Tom, and did you have any thoughts on it?
Well, yes. And what we need to tell our audience particularly is there's so much demand for who we are and services. And Tom recognizes that he needs to do better in outreach, and we really appreciate his participation to, as you point out, share his perspective. So yeah, it's great. Also great to hear that he's going to join us in the summit here in Oceanside, California, February 28th, realizing that he may not join us, but certainly send his people out here to be part of it. So job well done, Tom.
Okay, well, I appreciate the comment. Now we're going to move on to Wayne Gross, State of California Department of General Services. He's on the phone this time rather than Skype video from Sacramento, California. Are you there, Wayne?
Yes, I am, and I am on the Skype.
Okay, stand by.
Yeah.
Matt, do we want to try to do that or go with the phone? Because stand by, everybody.
Am I on?
We're trying to find if he's in the video chat. Are you still on the phone too? Nope. Doesn't look like
I can see him, his little white head and white shoulders. Is that you, Wayne?
Very funny, Al.
That's what you pay me to do.
Yeah, real. I guess not. We'll just have to go by phone.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway.
Wayne, are you still on the line on the phone? I don't think you're on the phone.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Okay, that's fine. We'll use your audio on Skype. Wayne, give us a perspective of what you do with the state of California.
Okay. I am what they call an outreach liaison. I help small businesses and disabled veteran business enterprises get certified so that they can reap the benefits of our program for state contracts. We have a 25% small business goal and a 3% DVBE goal, and we strive to reach both of them.
So what's the process like to be certified for California state procurements?
It's a very simple process. 8 years ago when I started, it took between 6 months and a year to get certified. We're down to 30 minutes to get certified as a small business. And I have to give you the book answer of it can take up to 30 days to be certified as a DVBE. But what's happened is we usually get that done within 2 weeks. And if on either one, if there's a problem, we have hands-on certification officers who can do what we call an expedite, and they can get that done within 24 hours.
What kind of input would you like to provide to the veteran-owned and disabled veteran-owned businesses that after they get certified, what's the procurement process like with the state of California?
Well, we mirror the federal program. Ours is, I would hope, a little less technical, for lack of another word. And basically, there's two ways. One is when you set up your profile, you have keywords and classification codes. And if I'm a state buyer with a specific need, I can match your codes on a solicitation. That would be a formal solicitation. The other way, which is probably 90% of our contracts are under $250,000, and with that, the person has to do is contact the agency and basically tell them, what your goods and services are, and hopefully they'll give you a call.
Excellent. Al, do you have any questions for Wayne?
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Wayne, first of all, again, thank you for getting online, and I realize that no one's going to get to see how handsome you are, but February 27, 28, they'll probably have that opportunity. We have about 13 state agencies that have already registered for the summit. Share with the audience who they are potentially and why it's important to see these guys at the summit.
Well, like in any business venture, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And we've got agencies such as CAL FIRE, CHP, just, those are two that I'm definitely know that are going to be there. And, it's making these contacts so that, if I need, hay, for example, for my horses at CHP, you're going to call Tracy Bowen, and you're going to, you've got this this relationship already started. And so if we have this thing called the small business DVBE option, which says for small businesses and DVBEs under 250,000, all the state has to do is find 2 small businesses or 2 DVBEs. It's that simple.
Well, this is key, Wayne, to share with the audience, because as we both know, in the state of California, we have 2 million veterans. Nearly half of that are self-employed. And you do a great job at getting veterans to engage, because naturally they got to be first registered with the state as a DVBE. Tell us a little about those numbers. How many DVBs do you have currently, and what are some of the reasons why they either drop off or have not registered with the state?
Okay. Well, currently we have about 20,000 small businesses and DVBEs, of which 1,704 are disabled veterans. That's right, only 1,704. And I think the main reason that the numbers have dropped off is because we had a system with a third party called BidSync, and unfortunately everyone got pretty sick of them always wanting money for their services. As a state agency, we're public, we cannot charge. And so when people were required to recertify, they just didn't do it. They just didn't want the hassle. Now that we have our own system called Cali Procure, we're working out all the bugs, and I think that if more people would just come to our database, you'd find out how simple it is to get certified, and then once you are certified, you can get in line for these procurements.
Wayne, quick question from here in Washington. These companies that you mentioned that are certified, they're not all in California, so everybody listening is potentially can be certified in California to do state procurement. Is that right?
Well, the DVBE, you have to be at least 51% owned by the DVBE, and the DVBE has to be in California. Okay.
Are other out-of-state companies allowed to bid too?
Oh, anyone can bid on a contract. It's just that all formal contracts have what we call a mandatory DVB participation. I tell all DVBEs that if they look at a solicitation and the solicitation says that the DVBE has been waived, then they protest it immediately and say, hey, I want to know what was your due diligence in having this waiver, because a lot of the times they just do that because, hey, we're all lazy at times, and they have, everyone in this business has to be doing their due diligence. So I tell them to make sure that that the person who wrote the solicitation has done their homework.
Al, other question for him?
Yeah, Wayne. I hope you got a chance to listen to Tom Leaney with the VA, and he mentioned with emphasis market research. Market research is a double ping. They look for you and you look for them, but when they look for you, they're going to go to the VA profile for the VA. They're going to go to eProcure for the state. Last month, you joined me here in Oceanside about Procurement Ready, and we demonstrated to all our attendees the importance of making sure your profile is market ready. Explain what market ready on your profile may imply to all our veterans that are with the state, but their profile has nothing in it.
Right. Well, when you talk about your California profile, you have 2 sections. One that the public can view, and that's where you put either your company name or your supplier ID, your certification number in, and it pulls up your profile that has your email, your phone number, it has your keywords and classification codes. Now, if I'm a state buyer and I am going to, let's say you're a painter, and so it is not on your California profile side, it is on your notification section where I put in a specific code, 8-digit UNSPSC code, United Nations Specialty Product Specialty Codes. And if that is a match, that is where you'll get an email from our system saying that, for example, the Department of General Services has this solicitation. 99% of our database people don't know that. And so, they're not getting the number of solicitations that are out there. So at the workshop, I am going to be presenting a 1-hour presentation on, it's basically titled, I've been certified for 2 years and haven't received one notification. Why? And I lead them through and show them exactly why they're not getting their solicitations. At the last workshop that I did for you, Al, we had a DVBE who was, we used him as a guinea pig, and he came back 2 months later and said that he's now receiving at least one solicitation a week just because we updated both profiles for him.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate the time you've taken, Wayne, to, despite the technical difficulties, at least we got to hear your presentation. Any closing thoughts, and where do people go to find out more about California procurement as you described it today?
You go to our website, which is www.caleprocure.ca.gov. Okay,
and we'll put that up on the archive on the screen. We appreciate your time, Wayne, and if you're going to stay tuned in, we'd love to have you. I understand if you have to drop off, but we're ready to move on here. And again, thank you for all the information. All right, back here in the studios now, I'd like to introduce Dan Marion, who's VP of Market Development and Growth for JJR Solutions, which is a Vector Prime company. You're a real guy. Okay, real prime right here in front of us here in Washington, D.C. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for the invitation.
Now, you were actually at the same summit that Tom Laney talked about today. Give us a perspective of being there as one of 64 Vector Primes from the Vector Prime perspective.
Great. Number one, it was an incredibly impressive conference. And the neat thing was, I think, my observation was, I think the VA learned and profited from the conference just as much as we did. Mm-hmm. And there were network roundtables where we could share with the VA our capabilities, and then they would in turn share with us. But even the very senior executives were in some bigger sessions. Some role playing went on, and senior executives like Bill James, who runs the big chunk of the IT organization, actually engaged with the industry executives, saying, "Well, why do you think that, and how can we make our acquisitions better?" So it was really impressive, because if it was just left to industry brief and industry, it would have been not very worthwhile. But this was incredible.
So there are presentations given by speakers, but in addition, there's a lot of interactivity one-on-one.
Yeah, at a surprising level that I haven't seen before. Mm-hmm. Usually it's the government communicates to a big audience, or the contractors are trying to pitch their thing. But this was a true dialogue that I think will enhance the solicitations that they issue.
What other experiences do you have out there from a Vector Prime perspective that you think are worthy of letting people know what these are going to be like? Because what Tom said is that he's going to be opening up those regional areas in the future, and we want to make sure people go to those. So give us some perspective of that.
In the first case, the registration process lets you kind of zero in on people that are of interest. So, for example, we're in Region 10, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, mm-hmm. is where we are headquartered. So we were able to actually engage with the small business advocate in that area who told us, look, here's a procurement readiness worksheet that we would like you to fill out mm-hmm. to make sure you are ready. And I know Albert uses that terminology too. It's neat that the VA does as well. So we were able to engage with him, and then he in turn presented to the people that were interested in Region 10, here's where we're spending our money, these are the types of services, these are all of our locations, and as soon as you fill out this procurement ready worksheet, please come in and talk to me, but you need to get this done.
I see.
So all the steps that Albert's going to help the veteran companies go through out in California in February, that's what he wants to see. Are you in VIP? Are you registered? Have you done all those hoops?
What advice do you have for some of those subcontractors that are looking to team with you as a Vector Prime at JJR? Good question, because clearly we have a team set that we had won with. However, at the conference in St. Louis, we met many additional companies with really remarkable capabilities that would like to be on Vector teams. And from my perspective, we always want to bring our clients, the VA in particular, to enhance the health and well-being of veterans. We want to bring them the best people with the best experience, best certifications and credentials possible. And we believe that we can reach consensus on our team that if you bring those amazing capabilities, why wouldn't we want to bring that to the VA? Mm-hmm. And it may not mean that the pie is changing a little bit, but look, what VA needs, I think, is the most important thing. Give us an overview of what JJR Solutions does.
JJR Solutions advances the health and well-being of veterans and the security of the nation through support of organizations like the VA Office of Research and Development and Air Force organizations like the B-2 Bomber Program and the National Air and Space Intelligence Center.
In those 6 categories, which ones are you in on the Vector contract?
We're in category 1 and 2. So category 1 is management and improvement.
Right.
So program management, big acquisition management, agile software development. And then improvement is Lean Six Sigma and change management. And then the second one is analytics, like machine learning, both qualitative analytics and then quantitative analytics.
I see. I'm going to try to go back to Al now. Al, if you wanted to have some questions. Can you hear us back? I think you dropped off there for a second.
Yeah, Dave, I don't know if it was our end, but I lost video as well with the whole show. But Dan, listen, thanks for coming in from Ohio. Hopefully you got a chance to see Tom. The whole emphasis, even as the Vector that Tom suggested, is variety of improved services for our veterans. We're looking forward to have you here in Oceanside, California, February 27, 28. Tell us, considering your experience in St. Louis, what do you want, and let's say you have, a wish list, what do you want us to do to enhance what you experienced just recently?
With regard to taking the best practices, what we saw in St. Louis, and bringing them out to California in February?
Absolutely, yes.
I think the network roundtable was a nice format. And so typically what you do is you'd sit across the table from a contracting officer, a program manager, or a small business specialist, and then I might represent a company and Tom might represent another company. And it was kind of neat because you had to be polite because you couldn't monopolize all the time, but it was amazing how much you learned from, you might really be a lot more mature than I am. So I'm sitting back and learning from you, seeing how you talk to the government, right? And so that was a really great thing. Rather than just one-on-one, it's helpful to have that mixture.
Great. I think I was speaking to Joe the other day, and the reality of veterans going there. You get to hear Stan Fuji here shortly, but we recognize there's 3 types of veterans that are business owners. Obviously, guys like you that are procurement ready and clearly demonstrated that with past performance. And then the startup may have some sales, but doesn't know how to navigate the landscape. And naturally, one of the biggest targets today is active duty service members exiting the military. What would you offer to these 3 types? Because what's key is exposure. Them watching you, talking to the buyer, and seeing how you manage that. How would you be able to express to these 3 types of veteran businesses, the patient factor? A lot of veterans are irritated that they think they ought to get a contract now, but there's dues to pay, time in the field, if you will. How do we better manage that from your perspective?
You know, it might be just helpful just to, rather than having a whole spectrum, let's just, you know, there's two ends of the spectrum. One that's pretty mature, that's been in business for a number of years, and probably you'd be approaching them as an equal. Hey, we've got some experience, some relationships, and yours are entirely complementary, and we should work together to go win something bigger, because the, you know, sum is greater than the parts. So that would be kind of a different conversation. As you know, we do have some Vector teammates that are just starting out, maybe just one or two people, and in that case, it's like your patriotic duty that you want to see somebody that obviously served their country, did a great job, and then now has had the courage to start their own business. And you know, you think, well, you know, we were there once, and it's really hard. And so it would be great to, you know, because you're really going on that person's skills that founded the company. Mm-hmm. So get that person and bring her in and put her on a project and let her get some calls and start to build her capabilities. And as we grow, you know, she can bring in another person, so she's got two. You know, and then there's 3 and 4 people, and you get on a decent slope so that you're sustainable.
Any closing thoughts in terms of what you experienced out there, insights, takeaways that you think would be of value to the audience?
Number one, be prepared. And I'm not sure of the setup in coming up, but for the thing in St. Louis, we were able to identify the procurement decision makers that we wanted to get to see. Mm-hmm. And you've got a pick list, so you compare what are they responsible, what's their geographic area, those kind of things. Are they interested in buying what we offer? And then, you know, you want to get to build a relationship with them.
Right.
So I think preparation is really important, and build a list and execute the list.
Excellent. Any closing thoughts or questions for Dan, Al?
Yes, Dan, the last thought. I think I may have explained to you the Small Business Administration has the Veteran Business Outreach Center, and they've deployed the business boots to business model, targeting a lot of exiting service members across the country. As we reach those individuals, and they're coming in full force in the summit, and you haven't served and now been out for some time, you either are going to do it right when you get out, spend a lot of money, only to waste your resources. I mean, look in the camera and tell an active duty member, you know, how to pace themselves, connect with folks like you and the systems and programs we established. You know, what would be your words to them directly on before you get out, do X. What is X?
So I'll respond by focusing on a particular area. So the area that I know. So I know there's a whole world of veteran-owned businesses that may be doing plumbing or all those kind of things. You know, my world has always been, you know, services to either the private sector or the federal government, professional services, mm-hmm. right? Improvement, digital, management, and, you know, insight services. So my recommendation would be, I suppose you need to think of how you're going to sustain your business, right? In some cases, you may be a lone person that's really smart, and the government really wants you back. And so you could start a company off kind of right away, and I've seen it happen. I think more often than not, you know, I see veterans exit the service, get experience at another small business, see how it's done over time, and then go off on their own. And you know, I'm an engineer, so maybe a little more conservative than others might be. And you know, I certainly, that's kind of how I opted. You know, I hung up my uniform, you know, and changed my voicemail and came back to work, you know, on Monday, you know, as Mr. Marion, mm-hmm. you know, on the same desk doing supply chain analytics.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interstate Perspective. Well, Dan, we want to thank you again for coming out, flying out from Dayton, Ohio.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
And I hope you enjoy your time here in Washington, D.C.
Oh, I shall. Thanks.
And great perspectives for everybody. Michigan grad, too. You guys used to have a football team. Anyway, so I couldn't resist. Sorry. Anyway, thanks again for coming back. And if there's information and people would like to get in touch with you at JJR, is there a website they should go to?
www.jjrsolutions.com.
www.jjrsolutions.com. Thanks again. And now we're going to go to a special sponsorship interview with Serena Williams from Washington Defense. Hi, I'm Dave Gardy for US Vets TV from our studios here near Washington, D.C. in preparation for the September 27th Veteran Entrepreneur Training Series. And with me here in our studio is one of our sponsors and a veteran-owned small business herself, Serena Washington from Washington Defense. Serena, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me here today, David.
Give us an overview. What is Washington Defense all about?
So Washington Defense Corporation is an IT services and engineering services firm. We provide professional services to the federal government and to systems integrators across the Beltway in Washington, D.C.
Excellent. Now, what are some of the services and solutions you provide, and can you comment on any specific ones you specialize in?
Of course. So we specialize in systems engineering and advanced technology, IT professional services, staff augmentation, cybersecurity, and also 3D spatial design and planning. Some of the primary customers that we have are in the F-35 Strike Fighter program, where we staff for test pilots, virtual immersive trainers, acquisition analysts, cybersecurity professionals, systems engineers, software developers, policy analysts, and intelligence professionals.
Wow. So what's the value proposition you think that distinguishes you from your competitors and has resulted in your success?
The value proposition we offer is a STEM source selection board, which is in science, technology, engineering, and math. So we hire the most elite professionals. And by virtue of doing the STEM selection board, we can weed out a large majority of missed hires, which are very costly for corporations.
Can you give us an overview of your background and your military career?
I'm a 10-year Army officer, aviator, and military intelligence professional. So my MOS was 15 Charlie 35, which is a Black Hawk pilot and military intelligence analyst.
Excellent. Now, the company itself, what are the goals for the company in the near future?
We're planning on direct hire contracts. We're looking for teaming arrangements with primes where we can provide staff augmentation and our IT professional services support.
Excellent. So if people want to find out more about Washington Defense, where should they go on the web?
You can go to washingtondefense.com, and there is provided a support tab where you can explain whether you want to team, have defense consulting services, or want business development or staffing solution, as well as any of our defense consulting services.
Thank you. It's an excellent interview. I appreciate coming out to our studios. We've been talking to Serena Washington, who's the CEO and
Thank
founder
you so much, Dave.
of an interesting company called Washington Defense at washingtondefense.com. In preparation for the September 20th Veterans Entrepreneurship Training Series, I'm Dave Gardy here at US Vet Studios near Washington, D.C. Thanks for joining us. Okay, we're back in our studio now. It's now 1:48 Eastern here in Washington, D.C. at US Vets TV for the 6th holiday edition Veteran Entrepreneurship Training Series video. And with us in the studio right now, very interesting guest, Rod Rodriguez. Thanks for joining us, Rod. Rod is the voice behind the AAR podcast, which stands for After Action Review. We actually have a program on the channel, we talked about this, called After Action Report, but he's got something called After Action Review. Tell us what it's all about, and tell us about your past military work.
Sure. So the After Action Review podcast is all about veteran entrepreneurship. The goal is to provide veteran entrepreneurs, people, veterans who are interested in business, who want to start their own business, an opportunity to learn from people who've been there, that have done that. So we talk about what went right, what went wrong, and everything in between. My own background, I'm a former warrant officer, CW2, 351 Mike, Human Intelligence Collection Tech.
Excellent. So what is some of the subject matter that you've done like, what, 30 or 35 presentation, and you call them podcasts. What kind of areas are you addressing in subject matter?
It's really all about the story of the entrepreneur. There's a lot of different programs out there that will tell you how to start a business and how to maintain it, and the real technical aspects of running a small business. We focus on the human aspect. We talk about where this person came from, where they're going, how they started, some of the pitfalls that they experienced, and some of the successes that they also experienced. And I think these are all part of the story of a company, the story of the entrepreneur.
And I should point out that you actually interview the entrepreneurs themselves. That's
Yes,
how
I
you
do.
get these perspectives. So what have you found as far as a theme that runs through all these guys that you interview?
That's funny. That's the number one question is what is the commonality between all these successful entrepreneurs? It is patience and passion. Patience and passion will drive the success of your business. If you have the patience to weather the not so good times, and you have the passion to not only start, but the passion to work those extra hours to really drive, success will come.
Now, do you ever get into the personal side of being an entrepreneur and the effect it has on the family relationships and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a lot of people have this, right now entrepreneurship is the cool thing. A lot of people are being exposed to entrepreneurs who are touting millions of dollars and fancy cars and all this stuff on YouTube and Instagram. Veteran entrepreneurs are a lot more disciplined. For the most part, they're a lot more low key than that. But entrepreneurship is the cool thing to do. But what a lot of people don't realize is the amount of hours it takes to be successful as an entrepreneur. You don't just go out and quit your day job. You're working that 9 to 5, and really your business, your side business, or the thing you want to make into your main thing, that starts about 7 o'clock and will run you to 2 in the morning. And you got to wake up and do this all over again. You know, here we go with maintaining your thing and exploring your business field. And you still have to balance your 9 to 5. You still have to balance your life with your family, your own personal hobbies. Sacrifice, when we talk about what it takes to be successful, what is the sacrifice? The sacrifice is you may not be able to make Billy's ball game. You may not be able to go play golf like you used to. This may mean you're in front of another computer screen. You did 9 to 5 in front of a desk, at a desk in front of a computer, and now you're doing it again. But it's for your business. So that's where the ultimate sacrifices lie.
Al, do you have any questions for Rod?
Yes, absolutely. Rod, first of all, it's good to see you on the screen. As a 401 officer, we had a chance to talk extensively, and you talked about patience and passion, which we have as veterans for the hurry up and wait that we experienced in the years of service we all enjoyed. But, you know, I want to say this much is giving an opportunity for a veteran to come see you and you learning from them. You know, you've made some remarkable remarks when we spoke, and I want to thank you for that, because it's the passion we get from each other and the exposure. As Dan Marino were talking about, the round table is let the seasoned guy talk, let the guy that's listening understand. But based on some of your conversations on your podcast, you know, give us a quick story about someone that's literally hearing you but not listening. And what I mean by that, they don't take guidance or direction lightly, so they get out there with a bit of stubbornness and spend more money than they need to. Have you experienced anybody like that in your podcast?
I think that's a growing pain, and that's something that every entrepreneur is going to experience. You start your business, if you're starting a business, it's because you honestly believe you have something to contribute. You're an expert in that. Nobody starts a business in something they know nothing about and they have no confidence in. Everybody goes in there and tries to do something, well, everyone's like, that's not a good idea. I just finished talking to Dan Alarak, CEO of Grunt Style, one of the biggest veteran-owned clothing companies. And he talked about one of his biggest blunders was purchasing a billboard outside of Fort, oh boy, now I can't remember, outside of...
in Texas?
No, it was home of the infantry. See, this is the MI guy trying to talk about the infantry, and I can't remember the home of the infantry. Either way, he buys a billboard, and it's not going to work out because he's thinking old school. He's thinking billboards instead of social media, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, which is the new billboard, honestly. And, you know...
Especially for clothing.
Especially for clothing, especially for anything nowadays. I mean, a billboard, I can tell you, is crazy. But people warned him. He still did it. and it almost cost him the company. I mean, it was something that was detrimental right off the bat, almost sunk him. But again, we talked about passion and patience. He was able to have the passion to drive through, the patience to let the storm pass, and now look where he's at. I mean, he's out there, changing the landscape of veteran business, not just for the clothing industry, but for every veteran who's about to step out and jump into the limelight themselves and try to be an entrepreneur.
Excellent. So for people out there who want to go listen to your podcast, give us the website address. Make sure I have it right. Go ahead.
Sure. So the website is www.theaarpodcast.com. You can follow me on Instagram at the AAR Podcast, Facebook.com/the AAR Podcast. And if you haven't downloaded the Anchor FM app, you really should. There's a daily blog cast where we talk about veteran business accomplishments and the daily blog.
Excellent. That's again the www.theaarpodcast.com. AAR stands for After Action Review. We've been talking to the host, Rod Rodriguez. Rod,
thanks a lot. Thank
you so much for joining us. And now we're going to go to another sponsor, HCI Integrated Solutions.
HCI Integrated Solutions, a premier service-disabled, veteran-owned small business, experienced supporting numerous agencies in the federal government since 1995. With extensive qualifications in total lifecycle logistics systems, operations and maintenance, information technology, administrative and training support services, HCI is a trusted global leader in technology solutions and professional services to those who serve our country. Driven by excellence of service and strengthened by partnerships, HCI Integrated Solutions.
And we are back in Washington, D.C. here as we round out our holiday edition of the Veteran Entrepreneurship Training Series. And with me now is Stan Fuji, the new 2018 Southwestern Veteran Business Resource Center CEO. Congratulations, Stan.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you here. This is all new. Al, you want to make any comments since you were the one that originally made the announcement?
Well, yes. First of all, Stan, I've known you for quite some time. 2018 marks 10 years of community services, all volunteers. And to be clear to the audience, you're volunteering to be our CEO, and that's commendable. Stan is a retired SBA, 30-year guy. If anybody knows the answers, I can tell you he does. Ask him about the manhole, why is it round question. But ultimately, what's important to articulate, 10 years ago, this was established as a volunteer nonprofit organization. And like any business, you got to have a life cycle, 3, 5, and 10. So 10's going to mark a tremendous year. It's great to have you as the CEO, Stan, and let's make it happen. And thank you for spending some time with us and tell us what you envision for the Summit 7th Annual event.
You're off and running.
Oh, well, I'm glad you were tongue-tied because that helps me out. I want to tell everybody, or at least wish you a happy holidays. We're having the 2-day summit coming up in February. It's going to be a great event. I've attended in the past. One reason to sign up, I just registered and I do not remember there being any place for a credit card. The second part was there's food, there's going to be a procurement fair. We've had Tom Laney on earlier on this broadcast. He's going to attempt to show up on the second day, but we're going to have a lot of the folks from the Department of Veteran Affairs there who are decision makers to try to help firms get business. And one of the items that we're going to do is we're going to look at the firms that register, and then we're going to go back to a lot of the firms. We're going to try to break them out into different tiers. So tier 1 are going to be the firms that currently do business with the federal government. You're ready to go. I call them the bring it on firms because you're absolutely procurement ready, you're ready, you want to do business. You want to do more business with the VA or at least start to do business with them, and you have great past experience. Those are the ones that we want to get in front of the decision makers first because they're the ones that are going to just blow them out of the water to make them want to come back the second time around. Tier 2, the second group, are the firms that may not have a lot of federal contracting. You may be doing a lot of successful business on a commercial side. And you may have products or services that are fairly unique that the VA typically doesn't look at, or other federal agencies, or even state and local government, like we had the gentleman from the California General Services Administration. They might be interested in some of the products and services you have, so we want to put you in front of them as well. And then we have the Tier 3, which is the group that you're just exiting the military, you're just getting started, you may be working for another firm and you're trying to get your business started. We want to look at you and figure out, okay, now how can we help you? We still want to get you in front of a lot of these different agencies and folks. We want to make it worth your time, but we want to make sure that you understand it's more answering your questions, helping you find that business battle buddy to get you going through the event. The questions are more, instead of how can I help you, government, or how can I help you, prime contractor, do business, it's going to be more of the how do I do business with you, how do I get my finances in order, how do I get the accounting system properly set up, and just getting that whole cycle set up so that when you're ready to do business with these folks, somewhere down the line next month, or it could be a couple of years down the line, that you're absolutely ready. We want to make sure that we have that pipeline set up so when anyone comes to us and says, who do you have that can do this type of work? We want to make sure that you're ready to be and prepared to be able to be one of those firms. Excellent.
Well, now, what happens when this annual summit wraps up on the February 28th? What's the next vision for? I know we're going to try to continue these Vets webcasts, Al, but what do you have as your vision for the organization?
So I really want to look at these monthly webinars, making sure that they continue going, having them out in California, having it out here in the Washington, D.C. area. It's kind of nice being bi-coastal because it kind of covers the whole nation. It kind of covers the world because we can be viewed anywhere. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things that when I first met Albert, he was down there in Paris, California, Riverside area, and I sat there and said, oh, this is great. Where else are you? And he goes, oh, why don't you come out to Vancouver, Washington, and come speak at one of our events? And I said, wait, you have the whole West Coast covered? And he goes, what, you think we're small potatoes? Caught my attention, and I've been following his coattails ever since. He's an exciting guy, and what I want to do in 2018 is try to get the numbers up. We have about 6,000 folks registered that came onto the website and said, yeah, I'm a veteran, this is who I am, keep me informed of what's going on. By the conference, Albert was telling me we'll probably be up to 7,000. I'd like to blow those numbers out of the water and find out more people, get them involved, and try to just bring the level of awareness of who we are to happen. We're going after a couple of bids on different grants and stuff as well, so we can get the awareness out there and do more e-learning and more training.
Excellent. Al, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's critical that you tell us, Stan, what you've done 30 years in the SBA, because when folks are going to reach out to us and they're going to want to secure a lot of your time, tell them what you know as briefly as you can.
What I know. So I actually spent about 7 years in the Department of Defense, and I was working as a contract price cost analyst. I was the guy reviewing all the proposals. I came over to the SBA and then finished out my 31-year career. Through that tenure, worked a lot of procurement, a lot of contracting, a lot of business development, just figuring out how businesses continue to grow, looking at their structures, figuring out how they can do things a little better. And then once they have those federal contracts, how can you do things better? How can you make it a little bit more seamless? How can you make it appear that when the government is saying, hey, I need one of these table centerpieces, you're sitting there going, oh, no problem. It's like, I can get that for you, instead of sitting there going, oh, how many little ribbons do you want on it? How big do you want it? Do you want these colors and changes? It's like, no, this is what we can do. We're the experts. We can help you do that. It's answering the questions and being able to fulfill the need.
Excellent. Well, we really appreciate coming back for the second time. Makes you a veteran of the Veteran Entrepreneur Training Series. So soon you'll have my job. So we're moving right up the track here. Al, thank you for joining us again from California. And Wayne, if you're still on the line, I don't think you are. Thank you for joining us. Dan Marion's here. We want to say thank you to him and Rod Rodriguez. Again, Please review the webcast sites, the websites that were announced during this webcast, because there's a lot of good content there. And, we've got a lot of veterans tuning in now, and we want to make sure we get that information out there from some of these people. So on behalf of the Southwestern Veterans Business Resource Center and Ops for Vets and TV Worldwide and US Vets TV, we want to wish everyone out there happy holidays, a happy new year, and we'll look forward to our next Veterans Webcast series on January 17th. January 17th, we'll be back here live with a whole new set of information, and in addition, the last webcast before the summit coming up. So, Al, any last thoughts?
I got to tell you, Dave, you and I go way back, and we spoke about this, and to realize these speakers that we're bringing on board have so much information to impart to all of us. This is just the beginning. 2018 is going to be a truly new year. Happy holidays to everybody.
Happy holidays. Everybody, thank you for joining us here at US Vets TV Studios near Washington, D.C. I'm Dave Gardy. Thanks for joining us. And again, happy holidays and happy new year.
Two little girls on a mission.
You can change the world one heart at a time.
Inspired by a neighbor home from the battlefront of Iraq and severely injured, Rachel and Kelsey Oken wanted to thank him and all our troops and their families for their selfless sacrifices with post-secondary scholarships.
And I've been able to see really that any person can make a difference. And what you give out to the world, you get back 10 times.
Almost a dozen years later, their Thanks USA charity has blossomed into a national enterprise. The Oken sisters are in college themselves.
But I think just growing up with the charity and with you and getting the chance to pursue my education has made me realize how ridiculously special that is.
And they continue marshaling Thanks USA fundraising efforts, golf and tennis tournaments, and other major events.
Thanks USA does more, in my judgment, than provide scholarships to military dependents. You transform lives, and you demonstrate to our military families, and this is important, you demonstrate to our military families that you are as committed to them as they are to our nation. It's a very important message.
With that commitment, military family members are today reaching heights too many consider unreachable. Like Taylor Curry, whose Army Sergeant dad was killed in Iraq in 2007 and whose story attracted media attention.
22-year-old Taylor Curry always had his heart set on attending a private college, but didn't know how he'd afford it. That was before he heard about the nonprofit called Thanks USA.
Taking care of the financial aspect of going to college made it easier for me to focus on my studies as opposed to worrying about how to pay for the school.
So far, 4,200 scholarships have helped this Thanks USA family fulfill their aspirations, thanks to more than $13 million in donations.
The scholars do unbelievable work. They're nurses and teachers and therapists who minister to people with PTSD.
It's helping us not only further our education, but helping us grow as individuals and helping us become leaders for our future generation. It's absolutely amazing.
Among my family, I'm the first to receive a college education from a four-year institution, and it's a very rewarding experience. It's something that both my parents have hoped that I would achieve and really supported me in achieving, and it's something that the military has also really helped me achieve through this scholarship program.
And thanks to you, I am one step closer to achieving my dream.
Fulfilling dreams and filling jobs. Businesses are increasingly looking to Thanks USA to close enormous labor gaps by creating pipelines to careers. It's a program gaining critical recognition.
The corporations that support Thanks USA with charitable contributions are actually starting to embrace a program that we started called Pathways for Patriots, where they're mentoring the military spouses and kids while they're in school, providing them with internship opportunities while they're in school with the eye on employment after they graduate.
More than a thank you. You, Americans everywhere, are fostering promising futures.
to us, it means that they recognize our efforts, the sacrifices we make, the time that we spend supporting our family, whether they're here or abroad, and it really reflects highly upon the amount of effort that we put forth, and we really respect and are gracious for that.
Thank you to everyone who has supported Thanks USA endlessly and tirelessly and graciously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all that you do at Thanks USA.